All right, thank you everyone for coming back to our event. I have a very, very special speaker today. I'm really, really excited. And her name is Jeanette Waldow. And Jeanette is the owner of the Apple Bistro restaurant in Placerville. Did I say that right? Is it Placerville?
Yeah.
Placerville.
Placerville, California.
Placerville, California. And she's got quite a story to tell. And I first heard about her a few months ago, and she has been fighting back against the people that want to lock her restaurant down, and done a great job. And she's been able to put these people on the defense for the first time, you know, that I've heard of. So let's hear her story. Jeanette, please tell us what you've done, you know, made a little bit of history about your restaurant first. And then let's start with, you know, when you first were accosted by these folks, and go from there, okay? So
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Clyde. So it started out with, you know, obviously the shutdown. The environmental health came in and told us that we had to follow the mandate, the guidelines. And we said it's not a law. We learned from some constitutional friends when we decided to open up and not listen to any of the guidelines because we didn't feel it was a right and they're violating our rights. So we researched that, and then long story short, environmentalists tried to shut us down. They said they were going to take our permit, and because we had complaints that we weren't wearing masks. And so they came in and ended up saying they took our permit. I say they stole our permit because they had no right. That was our contract that we paid for it. We didn't violate any codes or penal codes. We didn't break the law. So then we found out that they called Cal OSHA because they were concerned for our employees, but they couldn't get us to comply. So they went to another entity and tried to get them to come in. So what Cal OSHA did is they tried to come in, we shoot them away. Then they came in with a warrant, and the warrant wasn't real valid. You have to have 5 elements for a warrant. And so they didn't even have an affidavit. Well, the number one thing they didn't have was what was the crime. There was no crime because I didn't break the law. So after they came in with the first affidavit warrant, they came in with a second one, and we feel that the second one was fake, forged, because it had a judge signature on it, but it was similar to the first signature, but it wasn't the no judge name on it, no affidavit again, and again, no crime. Where was the crime? Where was the law broken? We didn't break a law. So, because people seem to have this misconception that COVID is law, COVID codes. Well, there is no law and there is no COVID codes.
Right.
So we're not violating anything. And we still follow all the normal standard, you know, regulations of a restaurant operating like normal. We pass every year, all our inspections, no problem. And usually if you don't pass a part of your inspection, they say, hey, this is how you do it. They give you a little training, and then they move on and they just keep going. It's no big deal. They're all about people doing better, training, etc. So anyways, once the second warrant came in, and I've got videos online about both incidents when they came on, we shoot them off because if they're going to come here and eat, fine, come in and eat. If you're going to come in here and harass me and trespass on my rights, then you need to leave. So, and that's clearly stated in the videos. And then as so
you videoed them when they came in.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we teach people. Number one rule for people to get in the habit of, if they come to your door, you have either employees or customers videotape, you know, or co-workers, whoever, come just videotape, because, or you tell your employees, tell them to wait at the door. I'll go get the owner, manager, whoever. Right. And so then I tell people, you have your little SOS group, you call them right away saying, hey, OSHA's here, ABC's here, whoever environmentalist is here, whoever's here, and then you wait. The first time I made them wait a half an hour until people showed up.
Right.
They're kind of getting irritated. It's like, hey, you're on my time. You know, I'm not in a hurry. You can wait. So they waited, and as people showed up, so I had somebody videotape for me while I went and talked to them. And so then they just kept persisting. Then they sent me, they've continued to send letters in the mail, and saying that we are a serious and a willful serious violation that we're violating, which it's kind of like, it's kind of a weird violation because it's not in their codes. They just made up. And then they're saying that the code we're violating is some aerosol, which relates to a hospital, which we're not a hospital. So anyways, they will do
It
that.
sounds like they're just trying to make stuff up.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are making stuff up, and what they're doing is they're trying to feed on people's fear. You know, you see a code, oh my gosh, I violated a code. But when you go look up the code, it's like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense. How am I violating? Like, for example, environmental health, they said you're violating the sanitation code. Okay, so how am I violating the sanitation code? Explain to me. Well, you're not wearing a mask. Oh, well, I didn't know in the code it said we had to wear masks. Since when was masks added to a sanitation code?
Right.
They just added stuff. They're adding things to everything. So, and they're preying on people's fear, which is, it's horrible that they're doing that, but people are scared. But guys, I was scared too. You know, don't get me wrong. I wasn't brave in the beginning. Yes, it takes that first step to do it, but it's like, when you know something is wrong, why would you continue to bow down to something that is not right? So, and yes, doing the right thing is always hard to do, but you know, it gets easier the more you do it. And if you're confident in what you're doing, yes, it's going to be hard, but you have support. I have a lot of support of people that come out of the woodworks and has helped out.
Right.
And you know, I think yeah, it's it takes a lot of courage to do this, but
Right.
anybody can do it. I'm just like anybody else out there, you know, but the only difference is I believe in right and wrong, and this is wrong. You know, for them to close this all down, it's not right. And
Right.
to, you know, people need to wake up and see what they're really doing behind the scenes and not just follow
So I just want to kind of put this in perspective for everybody listening. You're in the state of California with Governor Gruesome. I mean, excuse me, Governor Newsom.
yeah,
And Newsom Gruesome, I call him. But I mean, he's in the competition with Brown in Oregon and Inslee in Washington and Whitmer in Michigan for the most notorious and awful, you know, treatment of businesses in their state, and you know, trying to do the most damage to the middle class business people in the country of all. And so you're fighting against that guy, and I think one of the things that is important for people to understand is that all of this stuff that they're making up is just being made up. There is no legislation. None of these states have passed legislation
right.
in
It's
any
not a
of this
law.
law. So what they're trying to do is intimidate us
Yes,
and intimidate people. And you just are a great example of someone who said, well, wait a minute, you know, this isn't law. And you're just trying to use fear to shut me down, and I'm not going to shut down.
right.
And even in California, it worked, you know. And it's sort of like the people in just south of you in Yuba City, that pastor there that refused to shut down, and the sheriff backed him up, and there's nothing that Newsom could do because, you know, they were having people, 300 people, no masks, no social distancing, and they just stayed open, just like you. And so
Right.
there's another example of somebody who just said, no, we're not
Right.
going to do that. You're not following the law. You're trying to intimidate us. And I think what you've done is just a great example for people all over the country to know, you know, what, and then, you know the law, know that they can't do this to you, fight back, and then let's go deeper into it because you started using what we call an affidavit. Why don't you
Yes.
start to explain to people what that is and how that worked for you?
Okay, so affidavit is truth, fact, and evidence-based.
Mhm.
And so basically it tells your story. You tell the story of what's happened to you, how they did wrong to you, how they harmed you, and basically you're putting them on notice. You know, these people, like especially Cal OSHA, I found out they did take an oath in office to do their job. So they're violating their oath of office because they're going against the Constitution. And basically the affidavit puts them on notice. And then they have a chance, you put all these things on the affidavit and they have a chance to rebuttal the affidavit, but they can't because they know it's true. If I said you walked in with a red hat on a Monday at 2:00 and you say, no, I walked in with a green hat at 4:00. I'm like, well, I have it on video. So sometimes if you have backup, but it's not just physical evidence, it's also, they're trespassing on my property without, show me the contract and obligation that I gave you permission to tell me how to run a business. I didn't. So it's like you're trespassing on my property. So basically the affidavit puts the truth and facts and evidence base out there. So it's, you don't talk about your.
And when you say you filed it, right? You create the affidavit, which is a statement, like a statement of truth and fact. Then who do you give it to? Where does it
So
go?
we send it to the person. So instead of sending it to the entity, we knocked it down and we stripped it down and said, you, Don, a man, are violating, trespassing on my property. So we break it down and put it to the man instead of the corporation. Because then you put the corporation, then they want to bring in all their attorneys. But we found out even if an attorney is representing them, now the attorney is trespassing on the case because they have no authority to trespass on the case. So I've learned a lot of stuff and sometimes it's hard for me to explain. So I refer people we have a group of people and teachers and different people that know all these things, and I can explain the affidavit. I have templates, we've created templates. I started out with the Jack and Margie affidavits, which was very detail oriented, and they're good, but then we went one step further and we found another person who's been doing affidavits and having more success with them. Not saying that theirs don't work, but the times are different now, where sometimes it used to be in the past, you got a legal piece of paper and you're like, oh my gosh, I better do right. But now we're in times where all they care, these evildoers, just they care about money. So now we went further and we added claims to our affidavits, and then we stripped it from the very top and made them more powerful to where it doesn't matter if it's COVID-19, 20, 30, 40, you have no right to invoke any kind of mandate on me because it's not law and it's violating my rights. So the affidavits that we put together are they're more a little simpler for people to understand and to put them together and modify it for their story. And we send it directly to the person. So the person is liable because they know from right from wrong themselves. So we're going after the person and themselves, which makes it a stronger point. And some of these people have bonds, $1 million bonds, and the whole purpose is they're causing us harm and havoc. So now we're turning it around on them, kind of having fun with it too, because it's like, okay, fine, you're getting affidavits. So then we write it to them and we put over $1 million on the claim only because they have $1 million bonds. They have to report it to their insurance. If they don't report it to their insurance, they could lose their job and they'll lose their insurance. So, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose is, and their insurance is like, what did you do? You better go make this right. You better do something. And then sometimes there's been the results of these affidavits working where one person, he violated his rights. He put his claim for $50 million because he ended up getting beat up and going to jail. Anyways, long story short, he wrote an affidavit to them, said $50 million will go to court, or I'll settle for an apology, public apology. And because you can also, in these affidavits, you can say, okay, I'm going to claim this, or I'll give you the opportunity to make it right. And I'd say of all the affidavits I sent out, I've done probably over 20 of them. None of them have responded. They're all in default. They've had plenty of time and opportunity to respond to these affidavits and they haven't. And that's another part of the affidavits. When they're in default, we send them a default letter saying, you're in default and you agree to what I have said is truth and fact. And and then we even give them a chance to rebuttal the default, and they still haven't. So now if we were to go to court, this is our evidence that it's like, I gave them 4 months to respond. or however much time you give them, they had every opportunity to respond. So here's my evidence.
Right.
Let it be so. So basically, when they don't respond, they're agreeing that what I wrote on the affidavit is true and correct.
Mhm. So has anybody been paid, as a result of this, that they've stopped hassling you? Or it is,
So what they do is they kind of like, because they're a big corporation. So
right,
what they do is they send us to their collection department. So one person sends them, I send them an affidavit. They send me another person, I send them an affidavit. They just keep sending their little minions after. And then finally there's one gal who I sent her an affidavit. Then she's the legal or the collections department, and she's just an employee. So she filed a judgment illegally, unlawfully, no due process of law. She filed a judgment to the court. And so, oh, and another thing we learned too is we learned about mail fraud. So when they send you an invoice, so like Cal OSHA is saying, again, a willful serious violation that I'm violating, they did a proposed because it hasn't been, gone through due process. So in their paperwork, all their paperwork says proposed, like this $100,000 fine that they're trying to propose on me. And so she sent it into collections and an affidavit to her. So then the clerk and the deputy clerk also got an affidavit and a mail fraud, because the mail fraud's true. And again, they want to cause havoc on us.
so
Now
you're accusing them of mail fraud.
Right. Well, and if you look up mail fraud, which we made it into an affidavit mail fraud as well, we're taking the mail fraud codes and regulations and putting it towards them and making them think. And now that's a federal crime because the mail is international. So that's a federal crime that they're doing. And so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And then because they opened up a case into this system, or they filed, now we're going to use that against them, because it's like, okay, well, you filed this evidence against me. Now I've got my evidence, which they have to accept. And we also have documentation where they have to accept no court tampering paperwork, because what they've been trying to do in the past, I've filed stuff, they'll return and say incomplete. And in the past, 2-3 years ago, when you file something, they tell you, oh, on this section, you need to add this section, you do that, and resubmit it. They don't do that anymore. Now they're just like, oh, incomplete, here you go, and they kick it back. So now it's like they keep messing with the court document. So now there's a way where it says you have to accept my paper. I could handwrite a piece of paper and submit it into the court, and they have to accept it. But they keep trying to, again, put the fear in you. Oh no, you have to do it our format. Oh, you have to do it this way. It has to be in all caps and double space and yada yada. No, it doesn't have to be like that. And that's a corporation thing, which is completely wrong. We're not part of their corporation, which is a whole nother story.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
but so anyways, so basically they open the door so that they have to accept our evidence if they're going to accept their evidence. So if that makes sense to you guys. So it kind of opened the door. So with that kind of, it's a pain what they're doing, and we're jumping through all these hoops, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm up for this challenge. Oh, you just left me a gateway into your realm.
Well,
I'm going to use it.
well, not only that, but you're open. That's the thing.
I've never closed. We've never closed.
So from
Never
the very
closed.
beginning, you're one of the few restaurants and small businesses in California that was considered non-essential, right? They could close down. Isn't that a good feeling to know that they think you're non-essential?
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, so you've been able to keep your restaurant open in California all this time, and
Yes.
and have people.
And we've never worn a mask this whole entire time either. And now we don't even allow masks inside because, no offense, most of the people who wear the mask give us the most trouble.
Right.
And
So,
it's just been such a better atmosphere. People are excited. They can come here and feel normal. It's regular again. They don't have to feel degraded by, where's your mask? Put your mask on. And it's like, we tell them if they want to wear the mask, they have to leave. Yeah, we don't allow it here.
I I just love that. I tell people that all the time. I don't know how many times a day I'm telling people about this because it's so amazing. So,
Oh,
you
and I
know,
did want to say too that I sent the affidavits to ABC. ABC stopped because they had no right. They were trying to say, oh, I don't know, they're made up some excuse, and if you don't comply, we're going to suspend your license for 15 days. And I wrote them, there's 3 of them. I wrote
wait, wait, what's
affidavits.
a ABC? What's
Oh,
that?
alcohol beverage control.
Oh, okay.
They're
Okay.
trying to pull our license. But see, it's funny, they're going to pull our license for serving where we're supposed to be serving, but yet all these people who are serving outside and to go alcohol, that's illegal. Putting alcohol in a container and making it to go, that's not allowed. But oh, because it's okay now, it's okay to, but to me, that seems like a trap. Because it's like, oh, well, if you're selling to go alcohol, then you better be complying. So if you're not complying, you can't sell it to go. You see what I'm saying? It's like, I don't understand the concept that, because when alcohol beverage control, you have to have a designated area and you have to stay within that area. So if you're serving alcohol to go, that's illegal. So they're just, it's just weird, the things that they're doing. So we don't do that because we're like, no, we're going to follow the rules right, because we don't want to get caught in their trap.
Right.
So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So I think one of the morals to this is if you stand up for yourself and you know that you're in the right, that you're not going to, that's what it is. You're not going to be bullied. You just made the decision that you're not going to be bullied by these people who are really not, they're the ones that are not following the law. None of these COVID restrictions, none of these edicts are legislation. None of them has been legislated by the state legislatures. They could,
Right.
they could have, but they didn't.
I know, I tell people, I'm like, did you vote on that? Because I didn't vote on that. I didn't see it on the voting
Right.
balance.
Right.
It's like, when did COVID law become a law?
Yeah. Yeah. So all of this is bluster. Everything from their side is bluster and bullying, and no one has to follow it. Like the pastor in Yuba City and you in Placerville, you've just decided, no, we're not going to do that. And you're being supported by your customers as they're being supported by their parishioners in Yuba City. I've seen firsthand, hundreds of people at their services and with no masks and no social distancing and just being normal human beings, interacting in healthy ways, like we're supposed to as human beings.
When we're
So
supposed to be adults and take responsibility for our health, like we've done in the past, you feel sick, you stay home, and we've done everybody acts accordingly. I mean, everyone's responsible for their own health. It's not my right to enforce a mask either, because it's not okay, because then I'm stepping on their rights, making them do something that is against their rights. So
yeah, so everything you've done is a great example. I just think it's a great example for everyone in the country and in the world, really. So I'm hoping that this interview is something that is heard around the world. I really do.
and I'm hoping that people will stand up. They can stand up, just start doing it, go into the store, don't wear the mask, don't, do something to help others. It's not just all about ourselves. It's, if we all don't do something, it's going to be worse later on.
Right.
If they can do this, they're going to try something else. But if everybody gets together and we stand up together, that's what's going to make a huge difference.
So, right. Is there a way for people that are listening to this to learn about the affidavits that you've been using? Who would they go to?
Yes, so there is a website. The guy that we've been using, his name is Alphonse. He's very helpful and knowledgeable. And he wants people, it's not just about writing an affidavit. You got to learn what you're doing and you need to believe in what you're doing. Because it's kind of like, if I gave you a book report to read this book and write a book report, but you say, hey, friend, can you write my report for me? I don't have time. And then you get asked, what do you mean by that statement in your report? And you're like, I don't know. What do you mean, to your friend? And it's like, you have to know. And I tell people, you got to study and knowledge is key. Learning the law is key. Learning your constitution is key. Learning your rights. You've got to learn this stuff. And then when you put it into your paper, the belief into your paper, your affidavits, that's what holds, the facts and the truth and the evidence base. But you can't just slide through and have somebody do it for you. The whole purpose is, and that was one of the things that Jack Amargi said, I can write it for you, but you're not going to learn anything from it. And the purpose is a lot of these people don't realize the knowledge and the tools that they have in front of them and their rights. And once they start learning them, that's what makes you braver, is you learn your rights and you learn what everything is about. And that makes you stronger and gets you into the fight, and that's what people need to realize, is they can do it. And if I could do it, anybody could do it. Because, it took me a lot, and I've had a lot of support from people to get me where I'm at today. And
you had no legal background, right? No legal.
No, no. I tell people I've been tube fed this information for the last 8 months, so it's like I'm learning, I'm gunning and running as I'm learning, but this is good information to learn. And this is stuff that we should be teaching in schools. Kids nowadays need to know what their rights are, not just be, little minions, be told what to do, and you can't do that, can't do this, and really it's like, if you feel like doing that, of course, you want to do right from wrong. You don't want to be teaching people to do wrong things, but it's like standing up for your rights is huge. And people don't realize, these guys are just scaring by throwing words. And, when you clear out the words, it's like, what am I doing wrong? Nothing. I'm not doing anything wrong. They're just trying to scare us, which is unfortunate.
People don't realize how powerful the Bill of Rights is. And all of your rights are really laid out right there in the Bill of Rights. And that's all you're using. And all of these law enforcement officers take an oath to that Bill of Rights.
Yes, a lot of them do. Even some of our public servants as well.
Right.
So, and you asked, to example, the environmental health, when I sent them the affidavit, they're like, oh, we can't talk to you, we're in litigation. I'm like, we are? So I begin to working, because they're listening to it and they're reading it and they're realizing they're doing wrong. They're doing harm to us, and that's not okay. Yeah. And if more people would stand up and tell them that, I think things would change. It would change dramatically.
What are the chances, do you think, of any of your bonds, that you're where you've gone after people for the money, any of them actually occurring?
Well, we're still in process and seeing how it goes. There's things that are going on. Tune in for the next time, I guess. But I know that they are paying attention and they're taking it a lot more serious. And so we'll see how it goes. Like I said, that one guy, there's several, like another story is they took a 14-year-old daughter or child away from the home, and like 10 of them wrote affidavits, went to the sheriff's department, turned in their affidavits, and they got the 14-year-old back. Of course, that's the short version. But there's been stories where the affidavits are working, whether it's money or solve the problem or make them stop. It's not always about the money, but if we're going to get compensated for it, great. I'll share it with other people who need the help too. But it's the point, those people matter. Only money matters to them, because this whole thing, the county, I had a meeting with them at one time and they're like, well, we can make all these fines go away if you just comply. And I'm like, so what you're saying is the fines didn't really exist because you're going to wipe them out. So how does that make any sense? And then he's like, well, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So then why am I fined if you can just magically make them disappear? So they're just trying to scare people and all this stuff. And they put me in the media like, oh, they have these fines. They're trying to scare everybody else that we have these big fines. Okay, we have these big fines, but again, they're fake fines because there is no COVID code. So how can you fine me for something that doesn't exist? So, and I'm not violating any other health code. We still clean and do all the normal things that we normally do. And we go above and beyond because we like things to be better. So we've done better before COVID. We put things in place to be better. But they're just making up things as they go. And we're hoping, yes, if some of these things happen, I'd be more than happy to share you the results, but I'm still in the process. Like Cal OSHA is the main one that's been just more persistent, because they just keep sending another one. But it's like, okay, I just keep battling right back, because right now we're having fun with it. It's like, okay, who's next?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sounds like they're probably wishing you would just go away and leave them
right.
alone, because the more this gets out there, and that's what I'm very happy to be able to help to do, is to get
Well,
this
and I think
out
they're
there.
trying to make an example out of me, and I'm not going to let them. I'm still going to fight it. And some of the others have kind of backed down, but which that's what we want. It's either resolve the issue or go away. Let me run my business like anybody else. Just want to run a business,
Right.
support my family. So that's the goal. But we just find that the money claims has made a bigger stance on them, because like, oh, wait, now I'm getting sued. Because before it was like just words and they're like, oh, whatever. But now that there's money behind it, they're like, oh, I better watch what I'm doing, because now I'm getting sued. So it's making them more cautious. It's making them think twice.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, good for you. I think what we'll do is we'll end this now, because you've done a great job of explaining to people that if they just know their rights and stand up for themselves, and don't allow these people with the force of government behind them to intimidate you, that you can win, because they're just bullies, and they don't have the law behind them. They don't have the Bill of Rights. They don't have the Constitution. You do. And those rights are there for you, to protect you. So this is fantastic. Let's do this again. Let's revisit this in a few weeks and see what's developed, and maybe have an episode 2. Okay.
Yeah, the conclusion, right?
Yeah, the bistro record. What will we call this? We'll have to have this is gonna have to be a novel.
Well, I just, my main thing is people just need to learn, read and study, your laws and your rights. And that's what gives you the courage, is knowing, and if more people did it again, it would make a huge difference, and standing up, teaming up together. We're all in this together, and we're trying, the ultimate goal is to overcome these minions, evil minions. So, that's the common goal, is for everybody, and I tell people, when you learn the affidavits, share it with people, share, and pass it on.
Yes, awesome. So where would people go to find the affidavit?
Oh, has sent me to you.
Has sent me to you.com.
Correct.
Okay. Let's say that again.
Has sent me to you.
has sent me to you.com. All right. That's very good. Very, very good. I'm glad we got that out there. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day out there, and enjoy your customers, and enjoy making sure that people don't come in with a mask. I love that. So that they can breathe the oxygen that human beings are supposed to be breathing. My granddaughter passed out in school the other day, and she fell, and she was out for 20 minutes. From wearing that stupid mask all day in school. And so we have her homeschooling now. But it's just crazy.
Yeah,
They're
it
making
is.
all these kids all over the country in the public schools wear masks all day. It's so bad for their health. It just weakens their immune system and makes them more likely to get sick.
And they're finding out the people that are more sick are the ones that are wearing the mask all the time. So there's, get me started on that subject.
Just if people don't realize, you're more likely to get COVID if you're wearing a mask.
Absolutely.
The CDC came out with that months ago. So okay, let's see. Oh, I shouldn't wear that stupid mask, and that's right. So anyway, congratulations to you for your courage and your persistence and standing up for your rights and the example that you're making for everybody all over the country and the world. So thank you, Jeanette. I'm honored to have met you, and we'll just stay in contact, okay?
Thank you, Clyde. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for listening, everyone.
Yeah, you have a wonderful day. Everyone, thank you for listening.